ای مادر زارم تو برای دل دختر، ای مادر زارم تو برای دل دختر. قصه بابا بگو، قصه بابا، قصه بابا.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، صلى الله عليك يا سيدي يا ابن رسول الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة، ويا باب نجاة الأمة، ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة، يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ومن آياته أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. It is part of human nature, the way that Allah Azza wa Jal has created us, to want to have a partner in life, to want to procreate, and to have a life partner, and to share our lives with that person, and to bring offspring from that person. This is instinctive. This is biological, not just in human beings, even other animals. We human beings were only a part of the larger animal kingdom. This instinct of wanting to procreate and bring children and to become parents, this exists in other animals, but specifically in human beings. The need to procreate, the need to continue human life. This is from Allah Azza wa Jal. Marriage, my dear friends, it brings stability to one's life. It brings comfort to one's life. Allah says, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا. From His signs, from God's signs, is that He has created for you a pair. خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا. A pair for you. So for women, there's a pair, there's a man. And for men, there's a pair, there's a woman. This is one of God's signs. Allah celebrates this power of creating for men and women pairs and putting them together. Why? لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. So that you may feel comfort. You may be at ease. Taskunu, it comes from sukoon. It comes from sakina. Sakina is to be at peace, at comfort. That is the purpose behind marriage. Some, they get married to quarrel and fight. What results of their marriage is continuous fighting and quarreling and arguing. That's not the purpose of marriage. The purpose of marriage is to be at ease, is to be comfortable, is to have someone that will share your good times and your bad times, that will share your agonies and troubles and problems, but also will share with you the happy moments. Marriage is also a form of protection. A form of protection. Just like our clothing. What's the job of our clothing? They protect us. During the winter, they protect us from the cold. In the summer, they protect us from the heat. They are a protection. They are a covering. They are an ornament. We beautify ourselves with our clothing. That is why some people spend a lot of money. They wear expensive clothing. Why? Because it's a form of beautification. It's an ornament. The Quran says, "Hunna libasun lakum wa antum libasun lahum." You are clothing for your wives, and your wives are clothing for you. Why clothing? Because clothing protect. Clothing purify. Clothing beautify. And they cover. They conceal. They conceal our shortcomings. They conceal our secrets. They conceal our weaknesses. And that's what a husband does for his wife. He conceals. He conceals any weaknesses, any gaps. And she conceals his gaps and weaknesses. And she protects, and he protects, and they beautify one another. هُنَّ لِبَاسٌ لَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ لِبَاسٌ لَهُنْ. Marriage brings a person to settle, gets a person to settle. You see, some people before marriage, they don't know the meaning of settling and settling down. Some people before marriage, they're adventurous. They stay up all night. They travel. They go. They come because there's no responsibility. There's nothing important for them to keep them at home. Some are wild. They take risks. But marriage puts you at ease. It gets you to settle. No more staying out till 2 in the morning. No, now you have a family. You have a responsibility. No more being adventurous and taking risks and being wild. No. Now you're a father, you're a husband. You're the caretaker of a family. Now you have children to look after. So no more risks, no more being wild. Marriage indeed teaches responsibility. That is why you see youth before marriage and after marriage, a complete transformation. A complete transformation. Why? Because before marriage, you're not responsible for anyone or anything. You could sleep in all day. Who cares? No one will be affected. You don't need to cook. You don't need to clean. You don't need to go to work. But after marriage, everything changes. Now you're responsible for 2 individuals. Before you know it, you're responsible for 3, 4, 5. Now you're responsible for a family. Marriage teaches responsibility. Married couples, my dear friends, they complete one another and complement one another. Where a husband has shortcomings, the wife fills the vacuum. Where the wife has shortcomings, the husband fills the vacuum. They complete one another. They complete and they complement one another. Complement one another, meaning that they pick up where the other one falls. And marriage, my dear friends, is not just about fulfilling a desire, a human desire, a sexual desire. That's one part of it. That's one part of marriage. But another part is also about companionship. Marriage offers companionship. You get to share your life with someone. The bitter moments, the sweet moments. You have someone to share. Life is meant to be shared. In Arabic, there's a saying that says, وَلَدِيدُ الْعَيْشِ أَن نَشْتَرِكَ. The beauty of life is that you have someone to share it with you. Someone you share it with you. You know, imagine going to the most beautiful, exotic places on earth. You go to Thailand. You go to the Maldives, but you're by yourself. You don't have anyone to share it with you. Do you enjoy it? But imagine going with someone that you love, someone that completes you, someone that compliments you. Your life partner, imagine how much you will enjoy it more. Because that's the purpose of marriage, it's companionship. It provides us with companionship. We human beings, the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us, we're not supposed to live on our own or be on our own. What we see in this society, people living on their own and they don't mind getting divorced at the age of 60 and living on their own and dying on their own. This is not part of human nature. Part of human nature is that you want to be with others, to be with a family, not to be selfish. Not to be selfish. Not ruining and destroying your family because you no longer get along with your husband or with your wife. No. This is what this society teaches. But Islam teaches us that you need a family, you need companionship. You need to grow old with someone and share life's bitter moments and sweet moments with that someone. Those who avoid marriage and delay marriage, they are missing out on a great human experience. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. One of the problems of living in the West, we ran away from a lot of problems. Maybe we ran away from tyranny, oppression, dictatorship, lack of opportunities, lack of jobs. Here there's plenty of jobs, there's good education, there's economic prosperity. But that doesn't mean that here there's, you don't have any problems. You don't have issues. There's nowhere, let me tell you, my dear brothers and sisters, as a person who's lived in various countries, various continents, various cities, there's no perfect place to live in. Don't ever think that there's one place that is perfect, that is empty of problems. No. Because that's how we are. The grass is always greener on the other side. We say, I want to live in this country. That country looks beautiful, perfect. No, there's no perfect country. There's no perfect place to live. You always have to give up something. You always have to give up something. One of the things that, one of the disadvantages of living in the West is that sometimes it's difficult to find the right person when it comes to marriage, whether it's for yourself or your son or your daughter. Finding the perfect person, the right spouse for your son, for your daughter, for yourself becomes a challenge. Why? Because we're a minority within a minority within a minority. Here we're small communities. We're small communities. And hence we have limited options. Now that you want to get married, you don't have too many options. You only, you take what is given to you in your community, in your city, and you don't have too many options. There's not a lot of Muslims, there's not a lot of mu'mineen, and especially if you want from your ethnic group, because a lot of people, they want from their own ethnicity. You're a Pakistani, you want a Pakistani. You're Iraqi, so you want a wife that is also Iraqi. That even limits your options even more. And there's another problem, my dear friends. Expectations are very high. Our youth, and even parents, they have very high expectations. Their standards are very, very high. So they want someone who is extremely attractive, very, very attractive, extremely religious, never been married before, doesn't have kids, very educated, comes from a scholarly family, a pious family. If he's a Sayyid, even better. If she's a Alwiya or a Sayyida, even better, right? From your country, better yet, from your hometown, preferably a rich family that doesn't expect too much, doesn't have high expectations, and doesn't ask anything about your background and history. Well, where will you find someone like this? But all of us, we have this sort of expectations. When finding a spouse for ourselves or for our children, I want a wife for my son, I want a husband for my daughter. These are our expectations. We have high expectations. We have very high standards. And realistically, these qualities are very hard to find, if not impossible to find. And this makes it even worse. This makes finding the right spouse, either for ourselves or for our children or for our loved ones, it makes it even more difficult. And hence, there are a lot of youth that opt to delaying marriage. Now, it is even worse for our sisters, for the females. It's even worse. It's even a bigger challenge. Why? Because men, they can keep on trying. They can keep on proposing. They go to one option, option A, option B, option C, until they reach option K or L or M. They knock lots of doors until someone opens the door and they find the one, the right person. But in our culture, in our cultures, a woman doesn't go knocking on the door. She doesn't go and propose. She is proposed to. She is proposed to. She doesn't go and propose. So she has to wait for the right person to come along. While in our cultures, men, they initiate. They go. They're on the prowl. They go and pursue and find and propose. But in our communities, in our cultures, the woman has to wait for the right person to come. Men, they didn't find in their city, they go to the nearby city. They didn't find in Columbus, they go to Cleveland. They go to Cincinnati. They go to Detroit, Michigan. Not in the US, they go back home in Iraq and Pakistan and they find a solution. But what do our sisters do? This is a major challenge for our sisters, our cousins. This is a major challenge for them. What if the right person doesn't come along? Or the wrong ones come along? Or none of them are good? How long do you keep on waiting? And there are some that wait and wait and wait. They finish their teens, they go in their 20s, they finish their 20s, now in their 30s, and time is running out. Time is running out. So what do? This is a major problem, and this is a major challenge for Muslims living in the West. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. My dear friends, first off, we have to be realistic. We have to be realistic. That list that we have of qualities, that list has to be smaller and smaller. We have to be realistic. You can't be idealistic. You're not living in a fantasy. This is not a Disney movie, nor a Hollywood movie. This is your life. And you have to be realistic. Having so many qualities, looking for so many qualities, and looking for the perfect person, you're never going to find the perfect person. The prophets did not have perfect wives. You think we can have perfect wives or perfect husbands? We talked about Imam al-Hassan and his wife. Did he have a perfect wife? So if the prophets and the imams, they didn't have the perfect spouses, what about us? What about us? We have to be realistic. There are some qualities that we're just going to have to do away without. We're just going to have to draw a line on them because it's practically impossible to look for all of these qualities. Thus, you have to know your priorities. Which qualities can you scratch out and which qualities can you not scratch out? For example, there are qualities that you cannot sacrifice. You simply cannot sacrifice. And there are two. Two qualities you have to have. If all other qualities you can do away with, these two qualities you cannot. Number one, religion, faith, iman. How religious is this person? Being religious. This is something that you cannot do away without. Unless you want to have a miserable life, unless you want to have regrets, then that choice is yours. But if you want to have a stable life, a good life, number one, religiosity. This is a quality that we cannot do away without. Two, akhlaq. Because some people are religious, but they don't have akhlaq. Especially at home. There are people that come to the masjid and they pray in the first line and they help out at the mosque, in the community, they pick up the chairs, they're so good in the mosque. But when they go back home, they're monsters. They're monsters at home. You see them at the masjid, they're so nice and polite and they help everyone. There are people, they're good with everyone except with their wife. Or she's good with everyone except with her husband. So just because they are religious, it doesn't mean they have akhlaq. These are two different things. Deen and akhlaq. The hadith says, "Man ja'akum man tardawna deenahu wa khuluqahu fazawwiju." If someone comes to you and proposes to your daughter, to you, and they have two qualities, faith, religion, and akhlaq, give them. You will not regret it. You will not regret it. Yes, there are other qualities we can reduce the standard. We can, just a little bit, we can reduce the standard. For example, attraction. Attraction. We can reduce the standard. My dear friends, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. What is beautiful to you might not be beautiful to someone else. And you can create beauty. Faith creates beauty. Akhlaq creates beauty. Etiquettes, ethics, morals, this creates beauty. I'm not saying marry someone that you're not attracted to. Absolutely not. There has to be attraction. But attraction is also on various levels. It doesn't have to be the highest level. You don't have to marry Miss America. You could marry Miss Columbus. Lower the standards a bit. You don't have to aim so high. As long as there's some sort of attraction. There's attraction. You find the other person attractive, and they find you attractive. That's it. She doesn't have to come from a fairy tale from Disney, or she looks like a Hollywood star. No. Lower the standards. Believe me, let me tell you from experience, because I travel and I visit lots of communities and I deal with a lot of people, and sometimes we do family counseling and counseling for divorced couples or couples that are on the verge of going to divorce. I've seen some young men, they insisted on attraction and the highest form of attraction. But is she religious? No. She'll become religious. When? Does she have akhlaq? No. Well, inshallah she'll learn akhlaq. She'll learn. She'll learn from whom? Are you going to teach her? You don't have akhlaq yourself. You want to teach her akhlaq? So they emphasize on beauty, beauty. She has to be beautiful. This is my number one quality. If she has beauty, khalas, I'm sold. Religion, akhlaq, not very important. Why? Because he thinks her beauty will bring him happiness. And I've seen these young men, it was her beauty that brought him destruction. He thought that her beauty is going to bring him happiness. It was her beauty and her attraction and being attracted by other men that brought him the worst kind of misery in his life. And he opted for divorce. Why? Because he didn't have his priorities straight. He thought that it is beauty that will bring happiness. No. Her amazing beauty, it brought him destruction. It brought him misery. Because he didn't have his priorities straight. He didn't look in the right direction. He didn't have the right qualities. Listen to this hadith by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and send a loud salawat. Rasulullah says, "Man tazawwaja imra'atan la yatazawwajuha illa li jamaliha." He who marries a woman, and the only reason why he's marrying her is because she's beautiful. Not because she has other qualities, not because she's educated, not because she's talented, not because of her faith and akhlaq, only because she's beautiful. لا يتزوجها إلا لجمالها لم ير فيها ما يحب. He will not see happiness with her. He will not see that which satisfies him with her. And this has connotations, and I think you know what I'm talking about. This has horrible connotations. Because he only married her for her beauty. She didn't have any other qualities. Because that is what he pressed on. Mother, find me the most beautiful woman in the city. And they drive their mothers crazy. طيب. وَمَنْ تَزَوَّجَهَا لِمَالِهَا. And he who marries her for her money. لَا يَتَزَوَّجُهَا إِلَّا لَهُ. He only marries her for her money, only for her wealth. أَوْكَلَهُ اللَّهِ إِلَيْهِ. Allah says, okay, go on, have her money. Go and have her money. Meaning what? Well, money comes and goes. Money comes and today she has money, tomorrow she's not. And vice versa. There are some women that marry men only for their money. He lives in a nice house, nice car. He's paid off his mortgage. Tomorrow he might go bankrupt. What do? Tomorrow he might lose his money in the stock market. Tomorrow maybe he'll go gamble and he'll lose all his money. And you married him for what? You married him for what? Just for his wealth? Wealth comes and goes. But iman stays. Akhlaq stays. These are the qualities that we should be working on. We need to be realistic, my dear friends. In getting married, you have to have your priorities straight, and there are some qualities that you just simply gonna have to do away without. Otherwise, if you want to be idealistic, I had a friend who was very idealistic. We all got married except him. Why? Because his list was 2 pages long. Why would get married? What are you waiting for? No, I'm waiting. You're waiting till what? And the more he waited, the less options he had. Because they were getting married. All the good ones were being taken. The more he waited, the less options he had. And this is what happens. You miss the train. So you have to be ideal. You have to be realistic, not idealistic. And this goes not just for marriage, forever. Even buying a house. The ideal house is 6 bedrooms, 5 baths, with a pool, with a huge living room, huge master bedroom, huge backyard for 100 grand. Where will you find a house like this? You have to be realistic. It's impossible. With everything that we do, whether it's marriage or finding a house or you have to be realistic. You have to be practical. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. There are some that say, I want the perfect husband. I want the perfect wife. Bring me someone that's perfect and I will consider getting married. I say, okay, طيب. That's fine. But are you perfect? Are you perfect yourself? There are some people that have so many high standards when it comes to a spouse, but when you do a background check on them, oh my God. The things that you discover, the things that you hear, the stories that you hear. So what's going on? They say, we're not finding the right person. I'm still waiting for the perfect person. And they're not getting married. Well, hold on a second. Are you the perfect person? The last time I checked, you didn't have a job. You didn't have a good reputation. You don't have a great family. You post the craziest pictures online. You give a bad image of yourself and of your history and the people that you hang out with and your friends with your late night sessions, and you're looking for a wife that's almost similar to Fatima al-Zahra. That's insane. That doesn't make sense. With all of this, and you're wondering, why am I not getting married? Why am I not finding the right person? Why isn't the right person Well, you need to ask yourself, are you the right person? Maybe the problem is you. Maybe the problem is us. We need to fix us. We need to fix our image and our reputation. If I have a bad reputation, obviously, I'm not going to be given a wife, someone's daughter, whom they've worked so hard on, someone who's so precious, they're just going to hand them out. And I don't have a good reputation. طيب. Now this is a question, here's a question that I get asked a lot and others get asked. Can we look for the right person online? Is this an option? Can we meet a person online? I live in a small community. My community is 200, 300 people. Maybe there's 100 families in my community. And I don't have a lot of options. Can I look for someone online? Is this an option? Is this possible? And is it a problem if I meet someone online? No, it's not. It is an option. It's something very feasible. And you can opt for this, looking for someone online. However, you need to know the following. And by the way, I gave a lecture several years ago in the month of Ramadan. I was speaking in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And the title of the lecture is Instagram Marriages. And I talked about this in detail, thoroughly. Maybe you can look up the lecture later on. What you need to know, you could find someone online. However, know that people online are superficial. First of all, they use superficial pictures. You know that picture that looks really good? There's like 10 filters on there. This is one. And that picture is probably 16 years old. It's not the picture from now. They're using a very old picture. So they're very superficial when it comes to looks, and what's worse is that they are superficial in personality. A lot of us, we have an online personality and a offline personality. Online, you could give a different image, a very different image of yourself. You have to realize this, that when you're speaking to someone in Australia, in New York, in the UK, in the Netherlands, and you meet someone who is good for you or for your son, for your daughter, know that this is superficial. The pictures and the personality. They're giving an image. You can't, online, you can't read people. You can't read their facial expressions. You can't tell if they're being honest, they're not being honest. They use filters, not just in pictures, but in also personalities. Thus, you have to meet in person. You meet someone online, someone from Australia, for example. A couple of days ago, I was in a community. A gentleman was driving me to the airport. He said, my daughter met her husband online, and he's from Australia, and she moved to Australia, and they're very happy. Good, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah that it worked. But you have to meet in person. You have to get to know this person. In person, not online. How are they? What type of person they are? And you meet several times. And you have discussions. And you have to do your homework. You have to ask thoroughly about this person. You have to get recommendations. Maybe from the Sayyid, from the Sheikh, that they attend their masjid, the elders in the community. You have to ask. You have to do your homework. You don't rush into a marriage. This is not, you're not buying a car. You're not buying a piece of furniture. This is a life deal. A life deal. You're choosing a life partner for richer, for poorer. You have to do your homework. You can't later say, well, I didn't know. I didn't know this person had this background, or had this history, or had done this or that. No, that's not an excuse. Saying I don't know is not an excuse. You know, there's a thing that I hear from a lot of couples when they opt for divorce, when they're about to have a divorce, they say this person changed. When I first met them, they weren't like this. But Sayyid, he changed, or she changed. No, my dear friends, they never changed. But you weren't looking carefully. You didn't do your homework. This person never changed. This person was hiding their personality. They were only letting you see what you want to see, or you were seeing what you want to see. You weren't seeing their real face, the real image, because you didn't do your homework. You didn't do your homework properly. Whether it's for yourself or your son or your daughter, do your homework. Ask. Do a thorough check. Ask others in the community, what have you heard about this person? Do they have a good image? Do they have a good reputation? You have to do your homework. And by the way, there are some sites now in the US, specifically in California, there's matchmaking sites. Whether you'd like to opt for that or no, but it's an option. If you live in a small community that doesn't have a lot of options, there are Shia matchmaking sites. It's safe, it's chaperoned. There are people that chaperone and administer. It's not that you can contact a person directly. No, there's supervision, Islamic supervision. That's an option. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Also, my dear friends, the problem that we mentioned in the beginning about marriage being a challenge for Muslim families in the West, and we said for our sisters, it's even a bigger challenge. Why? Because men can keep on proposing until someone accepts. But as a woman, usually you wait for the proposals to come. My question is this in the Quran that a woman has to wait for the proposal to come? Is there a hadith that says this? No. There's no verse in the Quran and there's no hadith says that a woman cannot initiate. She can initiate. In fact, the second most important woman in history initiated her own marriage, and that is whom? Sayyidah Khadija alayhi salam. Sayyidah Khadija, is there anything on her image or her modesty or her religiosity? She initiated. She sent a message to Abu Talib proposing to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is also an option. If you, as a sister, as a woman, you see someone in the community, or you know someone, or your family sees a young man who they feel is good for your family, will be a good son-in-law, will be a good husband, they could initiate. This is possible. It is not haram. It is possible. It is very much halal. And they don't have to go directly. They can put an intermediary. They can go indirectly through an elder, through a community member. This is very much possible. Last year, I was at a retreat at Camp Baha with a youth group from Michigan, and there were a lot of young men and women. There were maybe about 100, more than 100, 110. And one of the sisters, she came up to me and she said that I am interested in a young man that's here at the retreat, and I want you specifically to go and speak to him. I told her, are you sure about this? I don't mind, I'll go and speak. She said, yes, I've made up my mind and I want you to go and speak to him and tell him that I am interested in marriage, not in messing around, not in playing around, but in marriage. I went and I told him, but unfortunately he was already engaged. So bad ending, I'm sorry. Not the ending that you were looking for. But nevertheless, and I could have stopped her if it was haram, but it wasn't haram. I didn't see anything, and I told her that, what if he says no? You won't be devastated? She said, no, I won't be devastated. I said, if he might reject, are you okay with that? She said, I'm okay with that. So if you can risk rejection, this is what guys have to deal with, by the way. They're rejected so many times until finally someone doesn't reject and accepts. If you can handle rejection, by all means, knock yourself out. You could go and initiate and find the spouse that you feel. In fact, I know one of the ulama, I know an alim who has a daughter. He went to a city. There was a young man who he felt was pious and righteous. He proposed to him. He told him, I want you to marry my daughter. And he came and he proposed to his daughter. The alim initiated. You see, that's being tactful. That's being, knowing what is good for your family. Why not? You see a young man, he's religious, he's pious. Why pass up the opportunity? Why have him go propose to someone else's daughter? Have him propose to your daughter. There's nothing wrong with that. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Another option, my dear friends, that can increase our options is that we could look outside of our ethnic background. I see some Iraqis, I only want a Iraqiyya. Pakistanis say, I only want a Pakistani girl or a Pakistani guy. Iranians want Iranians. Lebanese want Lebanese. Well, if you're going to do that, you're going to limit your options. You're going to limit your options. Here in the West, we have mixed communities. We have multi-ethnic communities. Look at the beauty of this center. The beauty of this center. One of the brothers last night, he was telling me we have 10 ethnicities here in the Ahlul Bayt Center in Columbus. That's very beautiful. You're a multi-ethnic community that lives together, you work together, you mourn together, you come to the majlis of Imam Hussein together, and you're doing everything together in a peaceful manner, civilized manner. That's so beautiful. Look outside of your ethnicity. Be open-minded. It's okay to look outside of your community. You're Iranian, you could look in the Iraqi community, in the Lebanese community. You're Lebanese, you could look in the Khoja community, in the Pakistani community. That's okay. You will have more options. Don't limit yourself only to your ethnicity because you're limiting your options. Yes, I know that it's hard to convince some parents. I know some parents, not only do they want from your country, they want from your own city as well. From your own city. It doesn't work that way. Here we're a minority. I wish that it was like that, but it doesn't work that way. So some parents are hard to convince. The old guard, they're hard to convince. But alhamdulillah, our new generation here, they're open-minded. And they're not racist. They don't have racist tendencies. They're open-minded. And they accept all ethnicities and all races and all nationalities. And I have personally seen some ethnic interracial marriages that worked. Iraqi who's married to a Pakistani who's married to a Lebanese who's married to an Iranian, and it worked. And they have children. And they're very happy. And those marriages worked. We don't have a hadith or a verse that says you have to marry from your own people, from your own ethnicity. No, we don't have that. طيب. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Some will say, but Sayyid, I haven't fell in love. I'm waiting to fall in love. I'm not going to get married with someone that I don't love. I'm waiting to fall in love and then I get married. I tell them, okay, but I think you've been watching a bit too many movies. Just a bit too many movies. Who told you that you have to fall in love? You know who's telling you? Hollywood. Hollywood is teaching you that you have to be in love before getting married. And this is not real. And I'll prove to you that these Hollywood marriages, the image that Hollywood gives us is all fake and it is not real. Look at their own marriages. These actors and celebrities, look at their lives. They get married, after 2 months it's a divorce. After 2 months, married again, and then a divorce, and a marriage, and a divorce. This is their life. Their miserable lives. Most of them, these celebrities who make millions, we think they're so happy, they're actually very miserable. In Islam, love comes after marriage, my dear friends. There's no notion of falling in love first and then getting married. No, real love is after marriage, after the tests, after the trials, after the challenges. Not before marriage. Before marriage, there's no trials. There's no real challenges, except maybe deciding on which restaurant to go and eat at. That's the biggest challenge that you'll face before marriage. The real challenges come after marriage, when there's children, when you have real decisions to make, when there's real choices to make. And then you love your partner after all of that, that's real love. Not the emotions that you have before marriage, that's not real. That's infatuation. It's not real love, it's not genuine love. And let me tell you something, the emotions that come quickly, they go quickly. If you feel very emotional about a person overnight, believe me, in a couple of nights, give yourself some time, those emotions will go away as well. Genuine love stays. Genuine love stays for decades. 10, 20, 30 decades. 30 years, not 30 decades obviously. 20 years, 30 years, 60 years. That's genuine love. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. There's a lot of options, my dear friends. One, there's lots of options. Another option for those that are not finding the right person is to travel. Go to ziyarah. Go for the ziyarah of Arba'een. Go on Umrah. Go to Hajj. Go in ziyarah groups. You can't find in your city, go to another city. You can't find in your community, go to another community. Allah says, وَمَنْ يُهَاجِرْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ يَجِدْ فِي الْأَرْضِ مُرَاغَمًا كَثِيرًا وَسَعًا. He who travels and migrates, they will find livelihood. You will find a difference. Allah will tell you, why were you stuck in this city? You weren't doing good economically, educationally. Go to another city. Go find. In another verse, أَلَمْ تَكُنْ أَرْضُ اللَّهِ وَاسِعَةً فَتُهَاجِرُ فِيهَا. Allah will tell us on the Day of Judgment, wasn't my earth so vast that you could have traveled and you could have migrated? You can't find in your community, go. Travel, go on ziyarah. I know lots of couples that met in ziyarah groups. They went to Hajj, they went to Umrah, they went for Ziyarat al-Arba'een, they went for the Imams, they went one, they came back two. And it succeeded, and they're happy, and that's how they met. This is also an option, my dear friends. Also, be active in your community. You're not finding the right person, you're not getting the right proposals. That's because people don't know you. If you sit at home all day long and you don't go to majalis, you don't come to the mosque, you don't go to anyone's home, you sit at home and you're waiting for the right proposal to come. It doesn't work that way. You want a miracle to occur and someone to come and knock at your door? No, you have to be active. Be active in your mosques, in your Islamic centers, in your schools. Let people see you, let people discover you, let people know you. Attend majalis, even women's majalis. Attend majalis, let people know you. They will discover you. They will discover what a good person you are. They'll discover you for her son, for her nephew, for her niece, for someone else who has asked her to look for. You have to be active. And you also need to be social, have friends. The more friends you have, the more options you have. Because a lot of times, a lot of marriages occur through whom? Friends. It's all about who you know. My wife and her friends can find a spouse for my friend, or vice versa. My friend's wife will be able to find a wife for me, and so on and so forth. So expand your circle of friends, your social ties. It's all about who you know. If you sit at home and you don't have friends, you don't want to be social, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to find the right person. And last but not least, and I have to say this because this is also a recurring theme, and I see this problem in a lot of communities and in a lot of families. There are some individuals that look for marriage, they start looking in other communities. First, let me go to Detroit. And I don't know what it is about Detroit that everyone, is there like a marriage market that they go and they look for husbands and wives in Detroit? I don't know. If there is, please tell me. I'd like to go to that market. They go and they look in other communities. So they go to another continent, they even go back home, they go to Iraq, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and they search and search and search. And then you know who they end up marrying? From their own community. You know why? Because they weren't looking. They weren't looking. Sometimes it's the things closest to us. You know, sometimes I have my glasses right here and I'll look everywhere because I fail to look what is in front of me. If all I would do is just look down, I'd find my glasses right in front of me. I've seen so many young men, they search the entire continent and they go to so many families, and then after a couple of years, I tell them, honey, I got married. Who? A young lady from my community. Well, why didn't you see her from the first time? Why weren't you satisfied from the first time? A lot of times the right person is right there in front of us, but we're not looking. We dismiss them. Oh, no, not this person. Let me go to Detroit. Let me go to New York. Let me go somewhere else. They go and circle, and then finally they come to this person. The right person was there all along. Why did you dismiss this person? Why did you dismiss her? Why did you dismiss him? The perfect match was there for you in your community. Allah brought them at your doorstep. Why brush them off? Pay attention to your own communities, my dear friends. Before looking online or going to Shia matchmaking sites or going back home to Pakistan or Iraq or anywhere else, looking in your communities, you will find gems. You will find treasures in your own communities. And what if you don't find the right person? What if you've looked and looked and looked and you haven't found the right person? Then know that this is God's test for you. This is Allah's test for you. If you still haven't found the right person after many years of searching and being on the lookout and asking and you haven't found the right person, this is Allah's test. This is Allah's test. Some people, Allah tests them with a horrible spouse. Look at some families. Some marriages are a destruction. They're very destructive. And they go in the ugliest divorces. Sometimes they have problems with their kids, or Allah gives them kids that are not healthy, or the child becomes, a gang member or starts doing drugs. Maybe Allah didn't want that for you. Look on the bright side. Be sure that Allah chooses what is best for you. What is best for you. If you remain single, that is what Allah wanted for you, because that is what is best for you. Maryam alayhi salam, when she did not have Isa, when she didn't have Jesus, her rizq, her sustenance would come to her in her mihrab, as we read in the Quran. وَجَدَ عِنْدَهَا رِزْقًا. Her food would come to her in the mosque. But when Jesus was born, the rizq began to be delayed. One day she asked Allah, Ya Allah, when I was single, when I was one person, my rizq was on time. Now that we're two, my rizq is being delayed. He said, yes, because now your attention is also divided. Before Isa, I had your full attention. Now, He has your attention as well. So know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will choose for you what is best. Do not question His will. or His knowledge. Allah knows us and He knows what is best for us. Have faith in Allah. Have faith in Allah, and there's always dua. There's always dua asking Allah to choose for us the right person. وَجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. This was the dua by Ibrahim alayhi salam. قَالَ وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي رَبِّ اجْعَلْنِي مُقِيمَ الصَّلَاةِ وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي. Pray for yourself and your family to have a good spouse, to have good children. Ask Allah. You know, some youth, they come tell me, Sayyid, pray that I marry this person or that person. I tell them, no. Pray to Allah to send you the right person. Don't dictate to Allah who says this person is good for you. Maybe this person turns out to be bad for you. Ask Allah to choose for you or your son or your daughter the right person. Allah knows who to choose because He knows best. On the day of Ashura, there was a young man by the name of Wahab. Wahab had just gotten married. It was basically his honeymoon. His honeymoon was in Karbala on the day of Ashura. He came to Karbala with his mother and his wife. He saw Imam Hussein alayhi salam on the day of Ashura. His mother, after one by one they entered the battlefield. His mother came to him. She told him, my son, all these soldiers go in the battle and you want to remain? You don't want to make me proud in front of Fatima al-Zahra? His wife came to him. She told him, Ya Wahab, we just got married. This is our honeymoon. Do you want to make me a widow right after our marriage? You want to make me a widow? His mother said, don't listen to her. Go into the battlefield. Go and make me proud in front of Fatima al-Zahra. So Wahab enters the battlefield and he begins to fight very fiercely and bravely. All of a sudden he saw his wife come out of the tent and she was calling him, Ya Wahab, come back. Come back, I want to tell you something. He came to her. Yes. She said, Ya Wahab, go back in the battlefield and fight until you die. He said, Ajib, a couple of moments ago you were telling me not to fight. You were telling me not to fight. Now you've changed your opinion. She said, Ya Wahab, la talumni. Don't blame me, Ya Wahab. I saw Imam Hussein sitting at his tent and saying, Ala hal min nasirin yansuruna. Ala hal min mu'inin yu'inuna. I saw Imam Hussein saying, is there anyone here to help us? Is there anyone to support us? He broke my heart. Ya Wahab, go back and fight and don't return. This was Wahab. These were the soldiers of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Tonight, my dear friends, we remember the daughter of Imam Hussein, Rukaiya. It is nights like this that Rukaiya passed away in Sham. They bring the caravan of Imam Hussein to Sham. Yazid had them stay in a dumpster, khariba, in a dumpster. While he's in his palace, the caravan of Imam Hussein and Sayyidah Zainab is in a dumpster. Now every night, all night, the job of Sayyidah Zainab is to go from woman to woman, from child to child, from girl to girl, putting them to sleep. She would be the last person to sleep and the first to wake up. This was the job of Sayyidah Zainab. One night in that dumpster, Sayyidah Zainab went from woman to woman, putting this woman to sleep, that woman to sleep, putting these girls to sleep. She put all of them to sleep, making sure that all of them are asleep. And then Zainab, after a long day, after all of this pain and agony, she came and put her head to sleep. The second that Sayyidah Zainab wanted to sleep, all of a sudden Rukaiya wakes up. Amma, my aunt, get up. My aunt, get up. Zainab looks at Rukaiya, go back to sleep. Let me sleep, Rukaiya. I was about to sleep. Let us have some sleep, some rest. No, Amma, get up. My aunt, get up. My father's coming back. He's coming. Rukaiya, go back to sleep. Your father's on a journey. Your father is traveling. He's not coming back home anytime soon. She said, no, Aunt Zainab, I saw him. I saw him a moment ago. He said, I'm coming for you, Rukaiya, be ready. She begins to cry and all of the women and children begin crying. Crying becomes contagious. All of them begin wailing and crying. News reaches Yazid in his tent. عما قوم نعدل دارنا أخافنا على غفلة ويطب خطارنا نذر عندي لو أبويا زارنا. She told her, get up, Aunt Zainab, my father is coming. Let's prepare the house. Let's prepare this dumpster. My father is coming. I know it. He's coming to take me. News reaches Yazid. Yazid hears the crying and wailing. He says, what is going on? What is this commotion? They tell him one of the daughters of Hussein saw her father in her dream. Now she wants her father. قال لا بأس احملوا إليها رأس أبيها. He said, yes, if she wants her father, then take his head to her. They bring the head of Imam Hussein in a dish. There was a lid. They came and they put the dish in front of Rukaiya. Imagine Baby Rukaiya, she looks at the dish. She said, I wanted my father. I did not ask for food. جابوا وشافتهم من بعيد وصاحت هلا براسك يا العميد يا هلال عزنا بليلة العيد ليش قطعت بينا يا صنديد. Ruqayya lifts that lid from the plate and she sees the head of her father Imam Hussein. أبا من الذي قطع الرأس الشريف. My father, tell me, who did this to you? من الذي قطع الرأس الشريف من الذي خضب الشيب العفيف من الذي أيتمني على صغر سني. My father, who beheaded you, who drenched your beard with your blood, who made me an orphan and I'm still a child. She kept on shouting Abba until Ruqayya goes silent. Everyone thinks that Ruqayya had fallen asleep. They said, let's leave her, let's let her sleep. Imam Zain al-Abidin says, Amma Zainab, lift my sister from the head of my father. When they lift Ruqayya from her father, they see that she had departed this life. يا بويا من قطع راسك يا هل سل بثيابك يا بويا غطى كل مصاب الماجرة مصابك عسب عيد البلا مخنضب وبفيض الدمه خضابك قبل لا اشوفك بهالحال يا ريت انعمت عيني ولا اشوفك خضيب ذبيح ويجري دم نحرك واصحابك واهل بيتك ضحايا مطرحه بكترك. يا ريت تعثرت هالخيل ولا داست على صدرك. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون.